New tonight, a local care center is hit with back-to-back lawsuits. But as KSBY's Brooke Martell found out, complaints against facilities are not uncommon. She looks into what you can do to make sure your loved ones are taken care of when you're not around.
That's right. In 2017, the average number of complaints against a skilled nursing home facility with more than 100 beds was 32. That's according to the California Department of Public Health. Mission View Health Center in San Luis Obispo, while under that average, is facing 2 complaints filed within a month of each other. And one family behind the allegations is speaking out.
Gerald Hazelton, who suffered from Parkinson's disease dementia, was admitted to Mission View Health Center in September 2016. Nearly 8 months later, and after multiple hospital visits, the 80-year-old died. The coroner determined Hazelton had a number of medical problems, including metabolic encephalopathy, hypernatremia, dehydration, and severe Parkinson's dementia.
It's called a skilled nursing facility for a reason, and he should have gotten skilled nursing care.
Hazelton's family filed a complaint against the skilled nursing home in May of this year, saying staffers were negligent in caring for their loved one. They claim he was malnourished and dehydrated and was not properly cared for, and say that led to his untimely death. Mission View Health Center released this statement to KSBY, which reads in part, "We are sorry Gerald's family believes there is more that could have been done for their loved one." Another complaint against the center filed a month before, saying Jeffrey Llewellyn caught fire while lighting a cigarette while left unattended. Mission View Health Center responded, saying in part, "We self-reported the accident to our regulatory body, the California Department of Public Health, who investigated the incident and issued a citation. We disagree with the facts represented in the citation and have accordingly filed an appeal to the citation." Despite the back-to-back filings, Mission View Health Center has fewer complaints than similar-sized care centers in the state. The documents I obtained show the average number of complaints filed in 2017, according to the California Department of Public Health, was 32 that year. Mission View had 21, well below the average. Bayside Care Center in Morro Bay, a facility of similar size, received 20 complaints and reported incidents. Compare that to Gramercy Court in Sacramento, which received 36 in 2017, and Windsor Elk Grove Care and Rehabilitation Center had 94. The amount of complaints is staggering, but when looking at the data, it's important to not just pay attention to the numbers, as many complaints end up unsubstantiated. People should also take other factors into consideration.
The staff to patient ratio, how many staff members to how many patients are there.
And to make sure your loved one is getting the treatment they need.
Now, something else that families should consider when they're evaluating these facilities is what's called the activities of daily living. Those often get written down in a logbook or something similar, and that is something the families can ask about after their loved one's in there. They say, hey, I want to see what their activities of daily living are.
A facility's license can be revoked if a facility has serious violations with quality and care safety of its residents, or if severity of deficiencies creates an immediate jeopardy for residents. However, there's no set number of penalties that would force a facility's closure. In the studio, I'm Brooke Martell, KSBY News.
We asked the California Department of Public Health for comment on both cases against Mission View Health Center, but representatives responded saying they don't comment on ongoing litigation.
We're tracking developing news as there's more pressure from both sides of the aisle on President Trump. The president met with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Finland. It wasn't clear why they were meeting or what specifically they discussed, but President Trump went against American intelligence to say that he accepts Putin's denying any involvement in the 2016 election.
I have great confidence in my intelligence people, but I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today. And what he did is an incredible offer. He offered to have the people working on the case come and work with their investigators with respect to the 12 people. I think that's an incredible offer.
President Trump also reiterated his belief that there was no collusion between his campaign and the Russian government. Both Republicans and Democrats are criticizing the president's comments, but it is still not clear whether Congress might take any action to hold the president more accountable. NBC's Blaine Alexander reports from Washington.
Here in Washington, all eyes are on the Helsinki summit, specifically what President Trump said or didn't say to Vladimir Putin about Russian meddling in the 2016 election.
President Trump had 3 opportunities to speak to this and refused every single time to criticize Putin.
Not only refusing to call out Vladimir Putin, but refusing to acknowledge Russia even interfered.
I beat Hillary Clinton easily.
And declining to say whether he believes U.S. intelligence or a strong denial from Putin.
I have confidence in both parties.
He could have pushed back. He could have agreed with his own intelligence team. He had the opportunity to do it, and he decided not to.
On Capitol Hill, criticism crossing party lines. Republican Senator John McCain calling it one of the most disgraceful performances by an American president in memory. From Trump ally Lindsey Graham, a missed opportunity. Democrat Chris Murphy calling the entire trip one giant middle finger from President Trump to his own country.
The president is doing grave harm to the standing of these United States.
A summit